I know this one.
So, unless I've missed a photo,
Yeah.
you enter the archives on November 1st, 2011 at Bowery Poetry Club.
Okay. That certainly sounds like it could be true. It sounds true to me.
I'm taking pictures of you. I'm taking pictures of everything.
I moved to New York City on July 31st, 2011.
July 31st,
July
2011.
31st, 2011. Yeah. So this makes sense. And this is from Shtick or Treat
Yep.
at Bowery Poetry Club.
Yep.
I am performing. It's a show that you perform as another comedian for like 2 minutes. And this is me as Dave Attell. I knew it immediately when I saw it because of the bowling shirt. I was like, that's me doing Dave Attell. And I thought it would be really funny because one of the funniest of all time, but his affect on stage is so gruff and like he says such like silly, gross stuff. And it's like very much different than how I am on stage. Even just like vocal tone is very different. So it's just very funny. I was like, I think this will, and I'd moved to New York and I was like, it was a big deal for me to do this show and it felt really exciting. And I was like, I kind of want to make a mark. And I did like a passable impression, but I think the contrast was really fun. I think I did a good enough job because that is a show also. I don't know if this was your perspective on it, shooting it, but like it is a real sink or swim show. Like there are people who just didn't get the vibe of like what it is, the fun of it. And so some people did impressions that were too faithful and like didn't have a take. And then some people just kind of ate it because they thought their impression was better than it was. And I think I wasn't, never the best of show, but I think just the like, I'm walking, I'm wearing clogs was like I like remember the bit so well. It's like, she's alone, I'm alone. I thought, why not annoy the shit out of her? And it's like, I like remember this so well. And I remember, obviously, I'm sure everyone tells you this, but like the first time we knew each other before this probably, but like the first time I was like, oh, Mindy took a photograph of me. I was like, I'm here now. Like I'm a part of the fabric of this thing that's so much bigger than me. And your work, I feel like stitched me in there tight.
Wow. That's so lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh. Of course. It is like, I'm sure everyone feels the same way because that's how everyone talks about you when you're not around, of like being such an important figure and such an important artist and such an important person in so many people's lives.
Thank you, Josh.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you. No, that's so funny. That's like a face I never make. I'm like not wearing glasses, which I always wear glasses. I have slightly more hair there. I'm like very sweaty from just coming in, but like slightly more hair there than I do now, but not that much for 15 years ago.
Yeah. So you had moved here that July.
Okay. Yeah.
And then what was your day-to-day job life?
I was around this time. It took me a couple months to lock it in, but when I lived in Boston, I had graduated college. I was before years out of school. I was teaching preschool full time, but on the side, I was tutoring SATs and like specialized subject college entrance exams and high school, middle school entrance exams. And when I moved here, there was a New York office of the same company. It was a little company called Inspirica. I think they have Philly too. And I transferred to the New York office. So I was tutoring. Around this time, I had maybe started, I don't think quite yet though, started to do a little freelance writing, like a few, like the next year I would start doing like TV recaps and stuff for Vulture, little freelance things for The Cut, New York Magazine too. So it was a lot of tutoring.
Okay.
A lot of stand up here, kind of trying to get my footing. So I was doing a lot of open mics, a bunch of book shows. I like fortunately knew a lot of people who had come back and forth from Boston, like friends who had moved from Boston,
right?
People that were in New York that would go up to Boston for the good stage time before they were like really entrenched in New York.
Yeah.
So I was doing okay, but the first year was really hard comedically. I felt like I had a lot of friends. My roommates were great friends. My buddy Jason Marcus and I were living together. We had like kind of a rotating other cast of roommates. And so the life stuff was really good. I was dating someone at the time who lived here when I moved here. And so life was like good and I was very excited, but like I was eating it a lot on shows. Like I just felt like I hadn't dialed into the frequency of like how to reach the crowds here. Um, and so this picture was like a very exciting moment for me. I was also on the road a bunch.
Oh,
I had just started going on the road as like mostly as like a feature, which is like the kind of middle act on a 3-person show. And that was coming out of a festival that I had won in Atlanta, the Laughing Skull Comedy Festival. It used to be a competition. And that's kind of like in 2010, I had won that festival. It had guaranteed me a certain amount of road work, a bunch of which came through, some of which didn't. And I had a breakup in Boston and a relationship start in New York. And so like the momentum was really bringing me here, but it was like a real learning curve from being not like a big fish in the Boston scene, but like a fish. And here I was like, oh, I think I'm like a mosquito right
oh,
now.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
This is a big difference.
So it does sound like you did quite a bit of prep work before you came here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm kind of interested because we are sort of collecting an oral history, and there is that sort of lore that going to Boston, uh, Chicago, that these are good cities to do a couple of years in for comedy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it still doesn't mean you're going to come here and all will be well immediately.
Yeah, and some people I think just have it when they get here, and I did, and I think that's like a quality that I had not cultivated and like couldn't have necessarily known to cultivate. So I was always told there something about comedy in Boston is there are like generations of comedians that have started there or have always been there or have left and come back, and so there's a lot of like inherited wisdom, some of which is great. And you're like, oh, like someone like Tony V, who's one of my favorite comedians of all time, who's been so wonderful to me for like decades, just such a warm and helpful friend and advisor. And then there's people that just fill your head with stuff that's like advice they would have given to themselves 30 years ago, stuff that's like out of date. And so I remember that the wisdom that I got that you would kind of hear echoed from some of the older guys was like, don't leave until you have like a clean half hour that you can do everywhere. And there was something else, but it was like, that was it. It was like, you don't want to show up and have like 5 good minutes that you can do you could go do a round of shows. And then when you come back, they're like, oh, there's Josh with his 5 minutes of jokes again. And so I've been doing it for several, I think I was like 7 years into stand-up when I moved, but the first couple I was still in college. And then after that, by the time I'd graduated, I was like working around New England, which at the time and still a little bit was kind of a closed circuit in terms of like, if, when there were shows in Maine, stuff like, oh, it's a youth hockey fundraiser in Providence, or up in Portland, there's a little club. They were mostly bringing in other New England people. It wasn't a lot of like, oh, we're flying in these big headliners from LA. So I was working in this pool of like often really great New England headliners, features, hosts. And so I really was like, okay, I want like a half hour that I think is really strong. And then I'm ready to go. And I'd started also doing some like writing, like I'd written, it was very bad. Like I bet it's not even in my, I'd be so curious to dig it out of my own email, but I'd written an Always Sunny in Philadelphia spec script, my last year in Boston, to be like, okay, I'm like really, I'm trying to do the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I was a fiction major, short fiction major in college, but I like wasn't a super great self-starter. I think my short stories were always like they were too much bit, not enough like heart.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, I'm probably not going to be like a novelist or like a, collections of short stories writer. And I remember my dad this was like one of the greatest kindnesses anyone ever did for me. My dad was like, hey, it doesn't seem like you're writing, like you're performing a lot. It doesn't seem like you're writing as much as you did when you were in school. Like what would that take? Like, how can we support that?
Wow.
And yeah. And I said, what I've been told is like, look for places that kind of match the tone of what you do. Buy literary magazines, read literary magazines. And my dad was like, okay. And he was like $40. He was like, here's $40. Buy yourself $40 worth of literary magazines, see where you fit in. And it was like so generous. And I felt so supported, even though like, I was working full time, paying my own rent, but like
Right.
that $40 was a lot,
Yeah.
and it meant a lot. And what I learned was kind of like, oh, this maybe isn't my world in the way that I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And so that's when I was like, what is the job? Because I'm not, I was 26 in 2011. I was like, my job isn't going to be right now national headlining comedian. Like, I don't have the credits, I don't have the draw, I don't have the act, but like, what else can I start growing towards? And so like, that was the appeal of New York, was like, there's more stuff other than just like, you go here, you do a show, they give you cash, or they send you a check 7 weeks later. There was a guy that I used to work for, and this is another thing. My dad was a glazer when he was working before he retired. And so he did like big glass and aluminum storefronts, union jobs. And so the unprofessionalism of the like bookers around New England was like astonishing to him. Like, I don't think he ever would have said this, and I don't think this is his personality, but you could kind of feel looking back being like, this would get you like swung on in like a real job. There was a guy that would send me, I remember the first time I ever like stood up for myself, I had to call this guy who I was opening a show at like a country club in New Hampshire. And he was weeks and weeks and weeks late with the check, which was supposed to be $75. And I called him on the phone and I go, hey man, check. And then finally we're going back and forth. Finally, I get a check from him and it's for $65. And I call him, I go, hey man, you shorted me $10 on this check. And he goes, what did I give you? And I go, 65. And he goes, it wasn't 65. I go, it's never 65. There's never been a gig that's not just 75. You know what I mean? Like, that's not an amount of money. It's always like a roundish number. And I just remember that and being like, I'm not built for this right now. I got to see what else there is.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, though, is the economics of comedy, right? Is that you need to spend such a long time getting good at it.
Yeah.
And then it's like you're fighting about $10.
Yep. $10. And this guy knew. He was like, there was not a fiber of his being, unless he is just the ultimate master of self-deception. There's not a fiber of his being that was like, I really thought it was $65. And so it's like all that. And it's like, I am really grateful. And I hope I'm not, speaking ill of that scene and the people there. There's like a lot of my good friends still live and work there. A lot of people, have left and come back. A lot of people have spun off from there. People I met when I was really young and have continued to be friends with, who are like scattered across the country and across the world. And it's like a really wonderful scene. You get to do all sorts of different shows.
Yeah.
And, you can do like a Elks Lodge comedy night fundraiser. You do like a club downtown with a touring headliner. You could do a theater if you're getting good enough to get booked as an opening act at a theater. You can do a little basement of a bookstore. There's like there's a Black comedy community that you can work there as well. And so it's like all sorts of kinds of rooms. And I feel really grateful that there's, for such a like geographically small and like not super populous city,
Right.
on the scale of like a Philadelphia, a Dallas or whatever, there's a lot there. And then there's a great density of comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it prepared you well.
I think I did. I was never going to be, or that's not true. I could have stayed longer and gotten my weight up a little bit and then left when I was a little stronger. But you kind of, until you get here, or unless you're working with like high level touring headliner after high level touring headliner, at that time, especially before everything was online, on social and even on YouTube, right? You just couldn't watch all of comedy that had ever existed at your fingertips. There was always going to be like the shock of like, oh, because I knew when I got here, I knew my friends. I knew like, I'm trying to think of who I was like seeing on TV. Like Dimitri Martin was probably still here when I moved, or like I would see him on TV. I knew that he had been through the scene. Eugene certainly was here.
Yeah.
Kurt Brunel and Kristen Shaw, people that I was like, oh, these people are so funny. Like I had that Invite Them Up 3 CD compilation.
Yeah.
And was like, oh, this is who comedy is. and was like, I knew all these people. And then I got here and was like, oh, it's the people I've never heard of that are killing, that I'm like, this was my blind spot.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You did get here in, um, yeah, it's interesting. 2011, several people had already moved to LA. Rafifi was closed by then. Whiplash was happening.
Whiplash was happening, so I would go, and I never got to a point where I did it at the UCB, at the old UCB, the 11 o'clock Monday night show that like
Right.
Leo Allen was hosting. by the
Leo
time I was there.
Allen.
It
Yeah.
was so funny.
I want to have Leo Allen on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's here, right?
I heard he's here. Yeah, like a reach out is coming. But I mean, can you imagine how long Leo's episode is going to be?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of years to get through. But I am grateful that you spoke with us about your time in Boston, because I just think about books that I read when I lived in Alabama, and I was trying to figure out how would I become an artist, and you know, hearing about things that people did before they made the move to New York. It's just such helpful information.
Totally. Yeah. And I was visiting a bunch because I had started in like late 2010, started dating someone who lived here. And so I was visiting. So I got my feet wet a little bit, and I was like a little bit in the community. And so I felt like I had a pretty nice ramp up in terms of like, I would show up places and I wouldn't feel like, oh, nobody's gonna, I don't have anyone to talk to. And like so that was really fortunate. Like Mike Kaplan was really generous to me as I was moving here, and like Aaron Judge was here, who had been here for a long time, and I moved with a great cohort of people like that converged here around the same time. So like Nate Fridson moved right when I moved. Emily Heller, who was here for a few years, moved here right when I moved here. Janine Brito, a bunch of like really cool people. There was like, and then there was like the Chicago contingent that got here just after. So it was like Will Miles and Clark Jones and Kenny DeForest, rest in peace.
Yeah.
And so like, I just felt like the energy of it felt like a community right away, even though I was like, again, kind of eating shit for like about a year.
Right.
On stage.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you don't want to stay in the small place for too long.
Yeah.
You also don't want to come here too soon.
Yeah. Right. And that was the advice that I was getting from the guys that never left, was like, you don't want to go too soon. It's like, well, when are you getting ready to go? But you've been here for 40 years.
And that's the thing. That's tricky. Like I moved here in such a messy time.
Yeah.
And made a mess of things. But I did, in fact, get up here.
Yeah.
Right. And at the end of the day, thank heavens that I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll also say, though, there is something to be said for people who are like, I love my life where I am. I love the creative work that I'm able to do. I feel like I can kick my own butt hard enough to like get the work where it needs to be, even though I'm not like swimming with the sharks or whatever. And so I don't ever, especially with Boston people, where I'm like, I never want to be like, I left and you losers stayed. What's wrong with you, you friggin' assholes? But I don't feel that way. But I don't think that I would have been able to like spread my wings in the way that I wanted if I had stayed.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a really personal decision.
Yeah.
There's artists that I'm a huge fan of who stayed in Birmingham and are really, really incredible.
Yeah.
And just making beautiful, beautiful work.
Totally.
So yeah, it's just what are you feeling called to do kind of thing. But I do find it interesting because you enter the archives November 1st, 2011, and then the next photo that we see you is actually only a couple of weeks later. It's November 18th, 2011, and you already have done something wicked smart and started your own show.
Oh, yeah. So I'm going to go 2 in a row here. Because this is, we started a show, and there's a missing person in this picture because this is for promo. So it's me, top right, obviously, Emily Heller, top left, Aaron Judge, bottom left, George Gordon, bottom right. And we started a show, the 4 of us, that was a weekly at the Sidewalk Cafe. which is no longer there in the East Village. It was like between 6th and 7th on Avenue A. And we started doing that. It was like Emily and I had just got there. Erin had like this itch to start a show. George is so funny and wonderful and was like a friend to all of us. And we are like, great, this will be really cool. And that way we don't always have to be there every Tuesday. It was like one of us would host, one of us would do a spot. And the missing person is Shinoa Estrada, who was the producer of the show
Yeah.
and is the greatest. And she booked the show and like ran it. And we did it for about a year and a half. And like the crowds were up and down, but it became kind of like a regular fixture thing. On my year anniversary in New York City, we had, which was, last week of July 2012, we had Reggie Watts on the show. And
Wow.
it was, Shinoa, I was like, I think she booked it out as like kind of a year celebration, which was really sweet. And Reggie was there, and one of the servers brought me like a glass of whiskey that I had not ordered. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, that must be for me. And I'm kind of looking around to see who it might be for. And Reggie was like probably 12 feet away, and he just kind of like waited to give me one of these. He was like, enjoy it. And he just did it because he had heard me say that it was my 1 year anniversary. And I was like, oh, what a special thing.
Very
It was
kind.
really sweet. Yeah.
He did small things like that
Yeah.
all over the place while he was here.
Yeah.
It was great when Reggie was here.
And I'm talking about the people, like, I was saying Kurt and Kristen and Eugene, but it's also like there are so many people who I would see all the time here when I started that like I think of as LA people because they've been there for a decade plus. But it's, Reggie, John Mulaney,
Yeah.
Rory Scovel and Kate Berlant are people that John Early, who I would see all the time when I got here. And so it's like, there were just so many people. And it, again, really lovely community. Like he was, Reggie was like a really ascendant alt comedy star at the time and was very gracious to do the show. And it just like, I think when people know that their kindness will mean something to someone else and they deliver that, I think it's like a really sweet and special way to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So the next time we see you in the archives, this looks like February 6th, 2012.
We got a few here.
Yeah, we've got several. And I'm kind of trying to figure out what's going on. So I think these are photos. This is from Whiplash. This is a Whiplash in February. Colin Quinn was on the show that night. Mike Kaplan was on the show.
And then here's Mike. And there's Mike. There's me. Jessica Moses. Micah Sherman. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, I would go and hang out and I would like try not to be too obtrusive. And that show, it was always packed. It was always super hot. Leo Allen hosted for a long time. And then as he was like working in LA, I think was pulling him away for a while. I think Sean Patton hosted a bunch. Chris Gethard hosted a bunch. And it was like the most reliable place to go that you could see like big, exciting comics for free on a Monday.
Yeah.
If you were just willing to like absolutely fuck up your Tuesday morning. And then people would hang out late, right? Like it was, I remember it always being like the show kind of pushing up against the limits of what UCB would allow time-wise.
Yeah.
And then people would go hang out after that. So it was like, okay, if I don't have anything I have to get up for, I can stay out till, I was never like a bar close person, but 1, 2 a.m. on a Monday night. And so like, it was always really nice. One thing I was talking about how kind Mike was to me. I mean, we knew each other from Boston for years, but he would just be like a guy that he would go like, oh, I'm doing this show. Like, yeah, come on. I'll introduce you around. Like there was never any like gatekeeping of that. And he was always very warm and excited to like fuse worlds together. And that really meant a lot to me of being like, oh, do you know this person or this person? And like this person I've been opening for, or this person opens for me. And it's just like really generous to do because I don't think everyone is always like that.
Yeah.
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 And especially because this was like a hard show to get onto. And so even to hang out at it was like fun and exciting.
Yeah. And I love that we've got that shot of Jessica.
Yeah.
As such a huge supporter of comedy. And also, Blonde Medicine is a sponsor of this
Oh, that
podcast.
rules.
And so it's kind of crazy to me that like I was doing this poll and I was like, and there's Jessica.
Yeah.
Right? Like literally supporting since let me check my notes. 2012.
But this is, I mean, I knew Jessica when she lived in Boston, and
Yeah.
she was like a manager at a comedy club there before I moved. So like she's been in it for years, and I think was out for a while and was working in a different field. And then she and Dom started working together. Dom already had Blonde Medicine going, but now they work together there, and like just the best people, the best like attitude towards artists, so skilled at what they do in terms of like recording albums, putting them out, setting them up for success. I'm just like so grateful to have worked with them both for so many years. I did my first album was with Rooftop while Dom was there. And then I think I've done 4 albums, a cassette. Rooftop was a CD. I did a cassette that you shot with me. We'll get there. A record, and then one that just was digital because I did it as a video special too. So maybe it was three albums with Blonde Medicine. Yeah.
And it's like so cool to me because it's like you sort of can like read the archive.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like nothing in your career happens completely out of the blue.
Totally.
Because there it is in 2012.
Yeah.
Is like at that table, people that we're going to know for
Forever,
however long. Yeah.
Yep.
I just find it comforting.
And like those Whiplash shows that I just hang out at, like there were things that happened on stage at those shows 14, 15 years ago that I think about all the time. John Oliver, who I then went on to work for a number of years at his TV show.
Yeah.
But he didn't know me at all, but he did this bit about the NBA player Jason Terry getting a tattoo of the Larry O'Brien, the NBA championship trophy before he won the championship, and just like calling his shot with a tattoo and like how confident that was. I think about that all the time. And then the other moment, I'm sure there are others, but the other one was right after Todd Glass had come out on WTF with Mark Maron. He was doing a set at Whiplash, and the structure of the set was like Todd was kind of talking and not really getting anywhere, and Rory Scovel was back. Do you remember this? And Rory Scovel goes, "Todd, just tell everyone you're gay." And like it was this like extremely like like what? And then Rory came out and they were like really playing together, but it was like, holy shit, what an electric thing that they just like, you can't like take that on the road. It's just like this thing that probably happened one time ever.
So you just brought that up.
Yeah.
5 days ago, it was a Friday. I saw Rory. I had not seen Rory in forever.
Yeah.
And it's before he's going to do a show at Theater for the New City for Del Close Marathon, right? So we're over by the side of the stage, and he's like, you could come up during my set. That'd be funny. And I was like, well, I'm no Todd Glass. And it was that night that I was referring to, because those two, if one of them was on Whiplash and the other one was in town, they interrupted each other. And like that was the night that I was thinking of, is like I have seen a set interrupted with you involved. I was thinking of it, and that is a moment in comedy history that I was thinking of.
So funny that you were just talking about that with Rory like last week.
And I did the thing. I did it. I had an editing assistant with me at that show. And so like sort of towards the end of his set, I like walked on stage, like taking pictures, and then the edit assistant was like pretending like he was a content creator behind me.
Oh, that's so funny.
Just like completely unexplained.
Yeah.
And
that's so funny.
But that was the bit that I was referencing when I was doing that. And I was like, no one is going to know what I'm referencing, but that's what I was thinking of. And anyway.
Did he know when you said it? Was he like, oh, wow, yeah?
I think he did.
Yeah.
I think he did, yeah.
It is like, I mean, both of them are so like spontaneous and generative and funny and collaborative too. But like, man, I like the energy in that room was just like, and that Todd was a party to. You know what I mean? It wasn't
Yeah.
like done to Todd.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that was wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the next time I see you is April 19th of 2012. We're at Luca Lounge. The name of the show is Lasers in the Jungle. That's a show by my friend Carol. And that's you standing in front of a backdrop that I
Oh yes.
made.
I didn't know you made that.
Yeah, I made that in the height of the Major Depression, and it just came up in some archives in a recent episode.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you're just going around town doing the
Yeah.
shows.
I feel like this shirt comes up a lot. It's the shirt's a major player, kind of a character in the story.
Yeah,
Kind of it's like the New York City in Sex and the City.
yeah,
And then this one too, I think was from the same night. I'm wearing the same sweatshirt and button down short sleeve. And this I think I used as a headshot for like years.
yeah. It's your first quote unquote. They weren't calling them this yet, but that's your first Mindy.
It was.
Yeah. And then your next photo is outside of UCB, July 23rd, 2012, with Marianne Ways, who books this podcast.
Yeah, the best.
Yeah.
And Marianne and I have known each other a long time, as evidenced by that photo. And yeah, we have a lot of photos of us making similar expressions, and I don't think we do it on purpose. I think that's just like our natural ambience. And like, I don't know, it just means so much to like work with people on and off stage who are like really thoughtful and dedicated. I feel that way about you. I feel that way about Marianne. I talked about Shanoa earlier. Like, just really special. Jordan Ashley, who is a photographer as well, but also books Frankenstein's Baby that I host with Allison Leiby, Taryn Thornhill, and Jael, Nicole Johnson. And it's just like having people that are like, the world is so much more than the people who are on stage. And it's like really beautiful, those like enduring friendships. Yeah, I love that. That's great. We have one of my favorite pictures. I think it's also a Mindy, are the two of us. I wonder if it'll come up today. The two of us wearing we're wearing the both t-shirt, which is Ted Leo and Amy Mann's like 2-person band project. And we just like happen to be wearing them at the same show. And I mean, that's an old shirt. I lost it years and years ago. It's my one that got away t-shirt wise. And my wife still has hers, my wife Maris. And I'm like very jealous.
Yeah, that photo's in here somewhere.
Yeah, I figure as much.
And your next photo is at the Creek in the Cave, October 5th, 2012.
Oh, yeah. There's that shirt again. I think I own 4 shirts in this era of my life.
Yeah. So yeah, back at the Creek in the Cave, this is Emily Heller's birthday show.
Oh, there's a few.
Yeah.
It's Katie Compa.
Yeah, that photo comes up a lot in the archives already because there's several people, like Adam Conover is in there.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, the great.
So Jake Young I'm talking to, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Oh, this is so funny. That's really funny. That's Emily's sister, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's Marielle. Yeah. And this is a shirt, talking about Boston. I think about this all the time because there's a picture, I think, of just me wearing this shirt as well. And it says, I used to read Word Up magazine, which is obviously a Biggie lyric. And my friend Casey Malone, who is great, I know him from Boston, bought it for me when I moved. And it got all like holy and stuff. I wore it for years and years.
Yeah.
And I was like, I put it in a giveaway pile. And Maris took it and was like, no, I love this. And she uses it as like a sleep shirt.
Glad it's still
But that's
in
so
the
funny.
family.
That's Marielle Heller, the director, writer, and star of The Queen's Gambit. She was her mom, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we have a couple of photos of you outside of the creek. And this is me I think I sort of have a style at this point, and it's starting to kind of come together, and these start to get like what the photos are going to be like.
Interesting. What are you feeling looking at your work as we go through all these pictures of me?
I mean, I am really trying to get on like some type of schedule and have some type of balance because like so much of my career has been about moving forward. And I think that's a really incredible way to be. But we also have lost some of our friends.
Yeah.
On the day that we're taping this, we've found out about someone that we've lost. And so the danger of only ever looking forward is that we are in an industry that's changed so seismically just in a couple of years. There were whole entire generations where the ladder was pretty much the same. And now all of that's gone. And I feel that it's instructive, like when everything is blown apart. Look at what was it that existed? How did it work? Who benefited? When we think about rebuilding, what are the parts that we keep? What are the parts that we say, hey, you know what? That always sucked. Let's change it going forward. Right? And so I feel like because I'm headed towards my 20th anniversary, because everything is so broken apart and we could really handle some insight right now. And because like tomorrow isn't promised, right? Like I'm trying to have a certain amount of my week about looking backwards, trying to get organized, thinking about, okay, let's put a book together and what will it be? And then the rest of the time only looking forward. Right? But sometimes I'll look at a photo and I'll be like, you lit that so terribly. Do you deserve to have your own podcast?
Oh, no, that's a question nobody's ever asked themselves before. Can I ask like kind of a heavy question? Because, you know, there's been a lot of loss in the community over the last few years. As you know, there is every few years, but it's like we are of an age and a generation where it's starting to, I think, accelerate losing people. And so often, I mean, it happened literally today that when someone passes away, like so many of the remembrances are delivered, like the words are delivered together with like your photos of people. And I think that's like a really exceptional gift that you've given to the community of like people seeing people at their best and most like alive and wonderful. And like, do you think of that like when someone passes away and there's like, you know, the headshot that they've used for years, or like just a photograph that everyone loves, or the first person posts it and everyone shares it, like is that something that like stirs up feelings in you? Because it certainly does with me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm I'm out there trying to support, right? Like that's what drives me. That's what I find interesting. I'm out there as I see it as a talent support role. But also I'm out there because media fell apart. And in the past, there would have been a beat reporter for the Village Voice, or maybe even the Times, maybe at some point when they were larger would have had, maybe like a team focused on like the burblings coming up from the underground of like what's going to be the next thing in culture. And those things are less and less. That's not to say our friends at Vulture, you're totally awesome. And we know that you're working really hard and on the beat.
Totally.
There's just not a proliferation of media that's cataloging and covering things. And so I do feel a sense of duty and obligation to like record and make sure I get a photo of this person and represent that they made a contribution at this time. And I do feel the weight of that. And it's an emotional weight, but it is also honestly just kind of this practical thing of like, once upon a time, this was a job. And now it's like this weird hobby that I have where like I'm technically not a journalist, right? But I'm also not like strictly a fine artist who's making, like a suite of photos about the rain or
Sure,
whatever,
sure, sure.
right?
Yeah.
So I am still like out at shows,
Yeah.
because I do like that. And I am thinking about our friend that we found out about today. And the photo that they're using is one that he didn't want to take.
Really?
Um, you know, and then he was like, "No, it'll be fun. I'll do it." And yeah. Um, and but yeah,
I'm really glad that that happened.
yeah.
It's a really beautiful picture.
Yeah. Yeah. He ended up having fun with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like being there. I like doing this work. Um, but also, yeah, I sometimes wish that like I was doing this job in like 1972 when newspapers still worked.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, that's how I feel about comedy as well. Livy and I joke all the time of like, God, it must have been amazing to be a comedian before everyone had written all the jokes. Like back when you could still be like, uh, car horns sound too loud or whatever, like the peanuts on the airplane. And it's like, God, it must have been amazing to get into this business before the bones have been picked clean. Oh, same night. It's me and Heller. I love this.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, really good. Yeah, that's a favorite. I forget. I wonder if that's one that's every once in a while someone will go through Austin because there's like, huge mosaics if you work at the Creek and the Cave in Austin now. And every once in a while someone will see an old picture of me and text me, which is like really, I don't know. I just like the community aspect. I've said it so many times and it's so important. And like not only the quality of your work, but like you were saying, the effort you make to like hold things together is like really exceptional and like means so much to so many people.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And then this next one, do you remember who you were being?
Of course I remember.
All right, this is Stick or Treat.
Yep.
November 4th, 2012.
Yep. I think I got the face pretty close in this one,
You got
especially.
the face really close.
Yeah. So this is Stick or Treat again, and I'm Todd Barry.
And I have photos of him doing that.
Holding the mic. I like studied up for that one. And this one, so when I did Attell, I did just the bit. And then this one, I think I did a bit, and then I wrote some like Todd Barry style or like lifted some Todd Barry mannerisms and like interpolated them in the 2 minutes. And I remember saying something like, I did like a piece of canned crowd work that I totally forget what it was, but I remember going, I'm going to tell one more fucking amazing joke. And I'm going to get the fuck out of here. And Todd saw it. I think that's how he knew who I was someone was like, this is pretty good. It showed it to him. And we've been friends for a long time now. I saw him last night. But I remember him going, it's pretty good, man. I would have said, him. I would have just said, amazing joke.
And the number of times I've heard him say that, that's a good one.
It's very funny to me. I remember that very well. I remember like cuffing the shirt and like I went to my barber. I went to I lived uptown. I lived in like Hamilton Heights, which is like West Harlem, and had a barber that didn't speak a ton of English. And I wanted the like sideburns just right or something. And I remember showing him a picture of Todd and him kind of like getting what I wanted. But like there was a moment of like, who is this guy to you? Like, is he your cousin? Is this like what's going on here? Because it's like normally you're like, oh, I like Jennifer Aniston's haircut or whatever. And I was like, can you give me the Todd Barry? And I'm sure Todd would say, he's like, go, oh, you mean, can you give me the haircut of your favorite comedian, Todd Barry?
Verified celeb.
Verified celeb. And that haircut's going to be on the house. One of my favorite comedians. So funny.
And then we see you again. This is after Whiplash, November 12th, 2012.
Yep. Yeah.
And I really like this photo of you. And you're probably coming from another show. And then the next time we see you, January 4th, 2013,
Yeah.
you make it onto 51st Jokes.
Yeah. So this is, wait, what year was this? 2013?
2013.
Okay. 2013. Yeah. So this is 51st Jokes, a long running show hosted by John F. O'Donnell there's Nick Turner. And who's behind me? I can't tell everybody from here.
I feel like Vatterott.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And 51st Jokes is like a long-running institution. It's so fun. It is, Sachi Ezra has produced it for years with John F. And it is, you tell the first joke, and it is a topic of great fascination and occasional controversy because you're supposed to do a joke for the first time on stage. It's like, I wrote this joke. It's the first joke I wrote this year, and this is the first time I'm telling it. And there are varying gradations of fidelity to those rules, right? There are people who have written a joke in the new year. It's their first joke of the new year, and they have told it a couple times to get it into fighting shape because there's 50 comics on the show, plus a sold out crowd, plus other comics hanging out. So it is really like you want to do well, and it is a very generous and forgiving crowd. But you don't want to like tank because it kind of sets your year off in a weird way. It like almost feels like a superstition of like, I have to do well on this and that'll give me the momentum for the year. And so some people just do jokes they've been doing for 3 months and everyone goes, what the is that about? Yeah. And so it's very funny. And I remember like taking it very seriously. I don't remember the bit at all because the crowds are so nice and they do such a good job producing it and you sit on stage for half of the show. So it's 25 comics sitting on stage for the first half, then they go backstage and then another 25 sit and go up one at a time. So you're really all eyes on you and it's very fun. But there are jokes that I've done there that I've been like, I am cooking with gas. And then 3 days later, I'm like, oh God, people are throwing rocks at me for saying this joke. I gotta stop. But it's always so fun.
So these next photos.
Yes.
There's a really small crew of you who shot with me at my house.
Yeah.
And these were shot at my walk-up apartment with, I did not have lighting figured out yet. I had some pieces of lighting that I would go on to like use over time, but I just didn't have everything like figured out. But I had my apartment arranged so that there was just enough room for a roll of photo paper or to like use the wall of the apartment. And that wall was kept clear for years and years until my husband moved in, basically. And I would have to stand on my couch to get enough room between the person I was photographing.
That's so funny.
And then there would be like a light back over on the side of the couch. Just a really impossible shooting situation because none of us could afford a studio.
Yeah.
And at this time, most of the shoots we did outdoors.
Yeah.
But I don't remember what it was you had coming up.
Yeah.
You couldn't wait until the weather was better to do an outdoor shoot. We shot this on January 20th of 2013.
January 20th, 2013.
Yeah.
Gosh, I wonder what it was. My best guess is that I had... Okay, so this picture, I believe, is still my Gmail photo. Which is so funny because it's so old. But I'm like, I don't know, what am I changing it for?
I've had 3 cameras since this photo.
That's so funny. I've had 5 chins since this photo. It is, but I remember it. I think my best guess is I had some like social media stuff pop off that December. And I had just signed with a manager for the first time. And
Okay.
I think what happened was they were like, we need like real headshots for our website or something like that. Or there must have been something I was doing that they were like, we need like a real professional headshot without noise in the background.
Yeah.
And so I like begged you to take these photos. And like, I also, at this point, I was not super accustomed to like sitting for a portrait or like having my picture taken for professional reasons. And you've always been so, I mean, we'll get to it 6 years from now when we finish this conversation. But like I really had a freak out here last 2 Decembers ago, um, taking photos for my special, and I was just like losing my mind. But you've always been so warm and calming while you are executing technically the things that need to be done, which is like such a skill, and has always been like the reason why I like between how beautifully everything always comes out and like just your like bedside manner as a photographer. I'm like, well, if Mindy's available, it's Mindy. That's like who's doing it, of course. If we can afford her, that's who we're booking.
Thank you,
You're
Josh.
welcome.
Yeah. The people who have shot with me in that way at that apartment and then shot with me at this studio, I just feel so close to people who have shot with me under all those different conditions. It's just such a special thing.
Yeah.
And so much about how I run shoots in this studio. I've been in this studio for almost 10 years.
Because we did an album cover here it must have been 2016, right?
Yeah, we've done a couple of album covers in this building.
Yeah, but the first one I think was probably 2016.
Yeah,
I
think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like whenever I got this studio, everything that I've done with it has tried to keep that vibe of what it was like to shoot with me those early years.
Yeah.
Where when we shot outside, comedians would meet me at my apartment, grab gear. We would carry the gear together. We would go around the neighborhood trying to find pictures to do. And then like Sean Donnelly shot with me at the apartment like this.
Yep.
And he's also shot here. But a lot of how I run shoots to this day is trying to keep them as close to the day you had here.
What about that is important to you? Like, what about that quality is like are you trying to preserve?
I think when I entered comedy, the way that people found photographers was Craigslist.
Sure.
And it was comedians who asked me, do you know how to do headshots? And I was like, I don't know, not really. I mean, this is like 2006.
Yeah.
So we're talking. And they were like, do you know how to do headshots? I'm like, not really. Like, you can come over, we can try, I guess. But they were wanting something more comfortable because at the time, everything was a headshot factory. So it was this situation. There were all kinds of places in the photo district where you would go in, you would have an hour, and you would just churn through as many photos as you could get, as many looks as you could get in an hour.
Yeah.
That tends to work for actors,
Mm-hmm.
but comedians were trying to go through that system. They didn't really have time to relax. They felt like they weren't really directed very well.
Sure.
They didn't have a lot of experience on camera. So they had a lot of negative experiences. And when they were coming to me, even though I didn't know what I was doing, I knew not to rush it.
Sure. Yeah.
And to just like hang out, you'll collaborate.
Yep.
And if you approach it as a collaboration and that you're just kind of hanging out on a Sunday afternoon, instead of you're going to walk in and with great military precision,
right, hit your marks, find your angles, and then you're out.
Yeah, and you feel it feels very impersonal.
Yeah.
And I find it of note that it was men who were like, can you please learn how to do a headshot? Because I feel really creeped out by this experience I just had. You know, people had genuinely terrible experiences. And So they literally were asking me, can you please learn how to do this?
Oh.
And just out of necessity, people coming over to the apartment, is a more casual hang.
Totally.
And so I've really just tried to keep the studio as stress-free as is humanly possible, as personal as possible, give people as much time as you can, try to be efficient, but I don't want you to feel like you have to walk in here and, whatever. I don't think good art comes from that.
Totally.
So yeah, I just have tried to keep the scale appropriate.
Cool.
And then over the years, I have a preferred makeup artist. I have a preferred photo assistant. I have a preferred digital tech. We can put that team together if it's something, what the shoot that we had in here before we turned it into a podcast studio for this couple of days was a shoot with an art director, 3 podcast hosts, a makeup artist, a photo assistant, different kind of shoot.
Yeah.
Right. But so we can do that. But small shoots where people have time to figure out how they want to be represented.
Yeah.
I think it's just an important part of figuring out how you want to brand yourself, how you want to begin your tour, or what kind of message you want to send with your CD.
Yeah.
CD.
I know. I don't think we've ever done a CD, but we've done cassette and vinyl. Certainly. One more question to you, because I have a hunch I know the answer, but I bet most of the people who come in to work with you don't travel with a heavy footprint, right? It's not like a big entourage, because I think people trust you.
Yeah, for the most part, people just come in.
Yeah.
And it's just them. And I have had to learn how to deal with, okay, we're going to have 2 stylists and also. But when it's talent who's making the decision, I'm in a place where I don't need it to be the comfortable, intimate shoot. And I'm in a place where I have a team and I'm used to having a bunch of people around me. That's awesome.
Yep.
Then you don't need that, sort of cocoon environment.
Totally.
Right. And that's fine with me as well. And can I have my photo assistant because it makes my day easier? Sweet.
Great.
Great.
Great on.
But yeah, just these days of trying to figure it out together, were really lovely and so much fun. And now that wall just has a bunch of cute photos of me and my husband and our dog.
Oh, that's nice. That's wonderful.
And then we're back to, you're at UCB. And there's a couple of photos I could barely make out. I think I was probably trying to get something cool and artistic. And then I eventually turn on the flash.
I think that's Sean O'Connor and Andy Haynes.
Yeah, I have in the caption, I have Jay Larson, but I think
interesting.
Find the one with the flash because Sean O'Connor is there as well.
Definitely Sean.
Yeah.
And that's Ben Kronberg, right?
Yeah.
And this is at UCB?
Yeah.
Right on. Let me see.
But yeah, I think you...
Oh, there's Michael Che.
Yeah, you came, checked out the show. And then the next...
This is a very funny picture of me in the corner. And then Sean McCarthy and Michelle Wolf. Is that Shang?
I don't know. I think I found these. Yeah, it's Shang. Shang Wang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God damn.
And then the next time we see you, kind of a big moment, June 6th, 2013, you're on Cabin.
Oh, yeah.
You're on Comedy as a Second Language, the 6th anniversary show at Cabin. So at this point, you've been in New York for 2 years, and you've already done shtick. You've done shtick twice. You've done 51st jokes, and now here you are at Cabin.
I know. I bet I'd done Cabin before.
Yeah, probably.
To be on the anniversary show. And I remember that being one where I felt, I was talking about 51st jokes feeling like eyes are on you, but Cabin was, when you did well there, there were like aftershocks.
Yeah.
Like if you really, or it was the same as like when someone would do Whiplash for the first time and like their friends would come and hang out standing in the back behind the seats at UCB,
Yeah.
like in the little alleyway, not alleyway, the aisle. And this was the same of like if you did Cabin and you really ripped, and people would, because everyone, this was like, I mean, Robert Dean and I talk about this all the time of like the hang of Cabin, how it would be like late at night and the show would end at what 11, and people, there would be like 20 comics deep out in front of the bar because people would be smoking, and then the whole bar would like be comics and then people annoyed by comics, and then the little tiny showroom, and it was Rebecca Trent produced it, and Chesley Calloway and Sean Patton hosted for years, and it was like that was one of the ones that I really was like, okay, I've got to like come in fighting shape for this. And like when it went well, it felt really good. And people would be like showing up and be like, I heard you killed today. Or like, if it went well. And it was really a good feeling. And it was some of the worst bar service in American history. It like, I would take the bar service from Deadwood, like Al Swearingen, over the bartenders from Cabin because they God, I think bartenders there especially had face blindness for me. I don't know if that was a specific thing, but it was some of the worst, like hard eye contact, turn away, serve someone else. And it was every time I was there. And it wasn't just me. Everyone would be like, they're so slow. It would be the kind of thing. Jim Gaffigan has this great old bit about uh how a bar back being like, oh, I'm not allowed to serve this. Like, you can't, like, and that's what I felt like all the time. There would just be a person standing there, and I'm like, are you the foreman? What is your job here? They'd just be standing completely still while a bartender was like back and forth. Somehow, no one was getting beers.
Oh, that's so great. So, do you think you have a job in comedy at this time, or are you still tutoring?
This is 2013.
2013.
Yeah. Okay. 2013. I had I had a manager. I think I by this point was like signing with an agent. I had started 2013 was a year for me of applying to jobs. It was like my first year that I was really in the mix for a bunch of writing jobs. There were like it feels much different than now in that all the big long running shows, there was kind of a revolving door at times, right? Someone would leave the Daily Show and they would look for a new writer. Someone would leave the Colbert Report on Comedy Central at the time and they would need a new writer. The Tonight Show would be hiring. Someone would get a pilot and they would hire a little room. And now that stuff just feels so much thinner on the ground. But I was applying. This is July.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know exactly what was happening in my life, which was I spent that year doing probably 20 submission packets of like requested material for shows that my manager was like funneling to me, and I would do them and I would turn them around, and often I didn't hear anything. But that summer, I got a nibble from a packet I did for Billy on the Street. And I had
Wow.
gone in to meet with Billy Eichner, and we had a really nice meeting. And he was like, we'll use you for something. And he's like, don't like, I really like you. I don't know, we don't have a big room, but I'll use you for something. And then every week they had kind of a rotating cast of creative consultants on that show. So it was like a different person every week or two. And every week I would be like bothering my manager of like, is it my week? And then finally at the end of the season, they like mercifully brought me in I did like 2 days of freelance work from home. They were just like, can you turn us around a packet of like jokes and games and suggestions and really quick. And so I did that, and it was like not a lot of money, but I had been that year, the first 6 months, I was like, okay, it's gonna like slowly losing the steam of like, I've a manager, it's about to start happening. I've got this attention, I'm getting meetings, it's like about to be my time. And then slowly that was draining as it didn't quite click. And then that meeting was so wonderful. And I remember we were talking about like, I'd pitched some celebrity games, and Billy was like, it was like such a great show business lesson that he kind of gave me inadvertently. He was like, not every celebrity like gets what's funny. He was like, Pink is cool. Pink knows what's good. But like not everybody is like that. And I like really filed that away of like, oh right, some people, like some musicians don't, or actors or even comedians don't want to do the funny thing. They want to do the cool thing.
Right.
And Billy like really crystallized that for me in a way that I've like hung on to for, a decade and a half. But he so I and then I did this little bit of work, and then I was like buoyed again until I ended up getting my first real job like 6 months after this, like my
Okay.
first full-time job. And that was doing web and digital stuff for John Oliver's show when it launched at the beginning of 2014. So not, I was there day one in terms of like leading up to the premiere. I was there before the premiere, but not like the first hire.
All right. And so we're still at Cabin
Yeah, this is
2013.
me with Sean Crespo, Massachusetts finest, wearing his Celtics hat or Celtics jacket. And I'm wearing, that must be a Red Sox hat. And you can see the brim fraying. I wore that sucker till the wheels came off. But I saw that there was one left from that Kevin show.
And then we see you again at Brooklyn Comedy Festival,
Oh, yeah.
August 23rd, 2013.
We got a bunch of them from this night.
Yeah, this is a bunch. And I think there's a bunch because the light was really good outside. And I think I just fired away. We had some really cool bokeh happening. And I think I was just having a lot of fun with that.
Oh, excellent. Oh, wow. Okay, hold on. I'm like going until I see the end of the ones in this, in that shirt. So this is a bunch of them, like portraits of me. And then here is that Jim? Yeah. Jim and Neil Stasny.
Yeah. And we're at the Brick.
Oh, yeah. And there's Shanoa.
Shanoa.
Yeah. Me making the stupidest face. And then there's Jim again. Yeah, this is great. That was a fun festival. It was Julian Kiani, right?
Yeah.
Was the force behind that. And it was always really fun. I was always really psyched to like, because he would have me on pretty much every year that they would do it. And I would just kind of wait to be like, here you go. You want to do this one? I go, great. Know, whatever show it was.
And then we see you again at the Creek Awards.
Yep. Oh, okay. We got a bunch of these too.
Yeah, we have a bunch at the Creek in the Cave. This was August 31st, 2013. So I do think it's of note that there was the small comedy festival. And then a couple weeks later, we have the Creek Awards, which was a big event that brought everyone together.
Yeah.
And so, I think when a community is functioning well and you have these sporadic larger events and then you have these medium-sized shows like a Cabin, and then you have smaller shows where you may be working out a little.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's really nice. I just found this picture, like I think someone had put it on Facebook, and I like downloaded the like terrible resolution version of it. And that's Jessica Moses, who we were talking about.
Moses.
And Nate Fridson, who is like an old friend who I'd met in Atlanta in 2010. And so we moved here at the same time. And like, we've known each other the whole time we've been here. Plus, even though he's from Michigan, but we met in Atlanta. And that's like, I think one of the beautiful things about comedy is like, you just meet people from all over. And then here's me with, is this David?
Mm-hmm.
God, this suit fit like shit. What was I doing?
And awful. Behind you is Year in Comedy, which is now what you were talking about. It's now up in Austin. But I want to say this was the first year that I did Year in Comedy. And this was like the big unveiling was that night. And so this is you with that photo wall.
Yeah.
And you can go see it now at the Creek in the Cave in Austin.
That rules. I love it. I love going in and like, it's like a real memory lane trip, even more than this, because it's, these are all I'm involved in some way. And then those you go, whoa, who's that? What's that from? That's amazing. Yeah. The best.
And then we see you again. This looks like October 7th, 2013 at
Union Hall. Yeah.
Where you now host a show. Can you tell us about your show?
Yeah, it's twice monthly. It's the first and third Monday of the month. It's called Frankenstein's Baby. It is super fun. I host it with Allison Leiby, Tyrone Thornhill, Joelle, Nicole Johnson, Jordan Ashley produces it. She does such a great job with the lineups. I like really was this Monday when we had the show. It was such a great crowd, and I was like backstage, like truly overwhelmed with joy at like the how broad the perspectives on the show were and how funny everyone was about stuff that's like it like really I was really blown away by like the force and potential of comedy seeing and it was Tyrone and I hosted we host in groups of two that kind of recombine. It's usually me and Libby and Tyrone and Joelle, but like when someone's out of town it'll switch up and Joelle's away all summer, so the three of us are just kind of recombining in all sorts of different combinations. It's been so fun. But it was Tyrone and I hosted, and Fumi Abe was in town, so he came by and did a spot, and then James Tom was running a short set, and Molly Kearney, Danish Makbul, and then Ryan Roman, who was I think an intern, maybe a PA. I'm sorry if I got your title wrong. At Jesus and Marrow when I worked there was on, and like we see each other around a lot, but we're not on the same show that often. And I was just like, my heart burst. Ryan was killing so hard, and I was just like, God damn, this is so beautiful.
Yeah.
So that's Union Hall is such an important place to me where I said that shtick was like an important early thing, which is true. But the first thing that really I was like, the first show that I got booked on that I was like, oh, this is something was when Eugene Merman had his festival. They did a comedy studio, which is a Cambridge, Massachusetts venue. And I got thrown onto that for a guest spot. And I was like, I'm part of the festival. And then after that, Eugene very generously had me on a couple times. And my name was on the poster. But Union Hall was where he did a bunch of shows for that festival. His regular show was there. And like, he's another person that was like so generous to me when I got here and was like very, like really took care to like help me get the lay of the land in terms of like, something would happen and I would see him at a show and we would talk and he just like had done so much by then. He'd accomplished so much that he just had a great perspective that I was like, is this something? And he's just like really thoughtful and cool.
Yeah. He's wonderful for the
Yeah.
community here.
Yeah.
Just wonderful.
I know. I miss getting to see him around.
Yeah. And did you know that Ryan Roman used to work with my husband?
Wait, no.
Yeah. So I've known Ryan for a bit, and
Wow.
it's a thrill to see him on
so
booked shows.
funny. Oh my God.
Yeah, super funny.
I was like, and I knew that Ryan was a funny person, but like the act was just like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
And like every person on the show did something that I was like, or said something that really just like knocked my socks off in a way that like no one else on the show would have recreated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like given 1,000 typewriters in 1,000 years, that comedian, none of the other 5 or 6 comics would have created the same thing. That's not obviously how comedy works. That's just the Shakespeare monkeys thing. But it's like,
well,
the people wouldn't have done it, human beings.
Earlier we were talking about how everything's falling apart.
Yeah.
But and I think that's bad. There's been stuff that's been brought up in here and it's bad and it's terrible.
Yeah.
But that's also where the good stuff happens. And I keep thinking about around the time that I started was the housing crisis of 2008.
Yep.
And think about how many amazing people started around 2008.
Yeah.
So I kind of am like, what can we do in this moment to facilitate all the things that are breaking apart in interesting and new ways?
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think like, I definitely have moments, if not months, of being like, everything sucks. Nothing's ever going to be good again, like industry wide.
Yeah.
But it is like the antidote to that to me is always like in the small picture, like the antidote to that feeling, not necessarily the situation, is like being around people making really special, unique art. And that I think is sometimes more possible when people aren't going like, oh, is the scout for Carson in the audience tonight? Because I have to do my best clean 5 minutes about my stupid wife that I hate or whatever. And it's like, it's so nice to see people like bringing all these different points of view forth in a way that feels like intentional and thoughtful without necessarily being like, there's an end goal to this. It's like, no. This is for the sake of making the thing that I like the best.
Yeah.
These pictures are also from my brief V-neck phase. Oh, there's another one.
Yeah, so I think there's a few from this night at Union
Yeah. What do you
Hall.
remember what the show was?
Unless I'm missing something, this was triple feature with Paul Otto as Sean Donnelly and
And me?
Josh Gondelman.
Oh, interesting. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So there's Shawnee, there's Paul.
And I want to say that that picture of the three of you, I think by this point I had a column called Moment of the Week.
Oh, wow.
And I want to say that this was a moment of the week, but I'm going to have to double check that.
And I think we did 3 shows. We were like all trying to tape, and we did 3 shows. We did a Boston one, we did New York, and we might have done Philly together. And the Boston one, excuse me, I hope I'm not conflating this with something else, but it was like the little room we did. The show was so fun, and then a Red Sox game let out, and we were at a bar like back to back with Fenway Park, and then the drunkest, loudest people with the least interest in comedy poured into the bar, and whoever was on last just swallowed up by Go Sox, yeah, dude.
All right, we're going to jump now to October 27th, 2013. You are on Stick or Treat again, and do you remember who you were being?
This is Mike Kaplan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was my friend Mike Kaplan. Yeah, I did shtick. This is probably my least successful because I think it was the most faithful to the person.
Right.
And it's like, it's always also when the person is in the room, there's like a different dynamic to it.
Yeah.
And I didn't calculate well, but I do think I did a good job.
Yeah.
I think I did Mike's old joke of like, you ever have it when a person asks you for a confirmation of details in a story they're telling you? So I'm banging this chick, right? I don't know. Probably not.
And then here are some favorite, these two are faves of mine.
Yeah, me too.
This is January 3rd, 2013 at the Bell House, 51st Jokes.
Yeah, I love this one. Someone like a fan made a like paper cutting of it and gave it to me. Yeah, it was really sweet. I love those. I think those were also like longtime Twitter profile picture or something.
Yeah, I really love those. So that's definitely part of like that would go in a book.
Yeah,
for sure.
Aww.
Yeah.
And there's Nate Fernald and is that Janelle James?
Yep.
And Sachi, yeah, and Vaderot. God damn, that is crazy.
Yeah. And then next time we see you, you're back at Union Hall.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, you're at Union Hall for actually Mike Kaplan has a CD release for a record called Small, Dork, and Handsome. Pretty sure I shot the cover of that. Yeah. 5/29/14.
Okay. There it is, the t-shirt that got away.
Yeah. And so at this point in May of 2014, you're solidly at
I'm at Last Week Tonight. Yeah.
Last Week Tonight.
I'm doing their social and digital stuff. And I'd applied as a writer, and I think I was kind of the last cut from the writing staff of the inaugural season. And they brought me in to do the internet writing. And it was really great. It was awesome. And then I moved over to be a staff writer the next year. But this was, so I was like working. So I'd been there I think I started in February. So I'd been there for like 3 months, and I was still like doing a lot of stand up. And it was important to me. I was like, I don't want to be a person who quits. And gosh, what a great crew. It's there's Gethard, right? And Aparna and Micah and Chaz Kangas, I think that is, who's in Minneapolis now. And Zach Sherwin, old friend, and MC Paul Barman.
Yep.
That's MC Paul Barman. Yeah.
Yep.
It's a good crew.
That's everybody. Yeah. Fun little group photo there.
That's really fun.
Yeah. And
there it is.
There it is. This is Marianne Ways and Josh Gondelman.
The foreshadowed picture of us in these shirts. They think about this picture all the time, and I really do deeply miss this shirt.
Yeah.
At this point, I wonder if there are any dead stock that I wonder if like Ted and Amy have access to any of these.
We should ask them. Yeah. Let's put a clip together and just be like, hey guys, do you have this? Yeah.
They're the best because I've gotten to tour with them for their Christmas show the last couple of years, and so I do think I could ask. I
Yeah.
think if I wanted to.
And then we see you again at Cabin.
Oh, fun! And there's me.
Sean Patton.
Yep.
This is June 12th, 2014.
Nice.
And so you are just, I mean, you are really out there. You are out there. You have a job in TV, but you are out there, you're working, you're performing at Cabin again. And then the next time we see you,
Mike's wedding.
Mike Lawrence and Adina get married.
Adina's wedding, also,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah. And
Oh, there's a lot of great people in these. I think we'll get to it, I think. Yeah.
yeah. Yep. That's you and Kevin dancing the hora, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah. And that's I knew when I saw the first one for Mike's wedding, I was like, I don't have a ton of pictures with Kevin, also, rest in peace. But I remember finding this one after he passed away and being like, oh, this was like a beautiful moment. And it was.
And he was fully committed and having a wonderful
He was
time.
going for it. And that's Sharon, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and there we are again. And there's the Conover and Jake Young and Jeffrey. But yeah, Kevin was all in. Yeah, he was really hilarious, wonderful dude. Obviously everybody says so many wonderful things about him in his absence, as they would have said during his life. Although I think he was a guy that people like to kind of say funny, because he was a ridiculous character.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
And very lovely.
Yeah, really wonderful guy, and gone many, many years too soon.
Yeah. And then we cut to you at Shanoa's birthday. This is September of 2014, and you are now with Maris.
Yeah, so that's my now wife, Maris. This is 2014. Okay, so we started dating in March of 2014. And Shanoa at the time, Shanoa was my manager, and we're friends, but no longer professionally working together now. But so that must have been the context in which Maris came, because like, I bet I kept her a little bit away from comedy for the first few months, because I was like, oh, that's so funny that it took 6 months for her to show up in one of your pictures, but one of your shots. But that must have been it, I think. And this was more of a social event.
When you really love someone, you maybe want to keep them away from this.
Yeah.
Try to have a world away from it if you can.
For sure.
Yeah. And then let's see, are we back at the Bell House?
Yeah, 51st again? Could that
Yeah.
be?
Looks like 51st jokes.
See, that's Matt Koff is there, and Selena, Janelle, it's Kevin again, I think. Yeah, this is Michelle, Doug Smith. Yeah, great group.
January 2nd, 2015, the Bell House. So you're starting the year off at 51st Jokes, and you have a job in TV.
Yeah, and you said this is
2015.
2015.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I knew, and the hat I'm wearing is a Brooklyn Dodgers hat, and there's Robert and Aparna, obviously. Brooklyn Dodgers hat, and I bought it I think I had lost a hat and then was at a Mets game and had to buy a hat because otherwise I would have gotten sunburned too badly because I'm so bald. And I was like, what's the least betrayal of Boston, Massachusetts? And they was like, okay, Brooklyn Dodgers, that's like Dewey, Sandy Koufax, let's do it. And I had that hat for a long time.
And then these photos have already come up in someone else's archive.
Oh, that's so fun.
These came up in Joyelle's
episode.
There's
Joyelle and Lisa and Michelle.
Yeah, and she was like, I know that's Josh Gondelman because he has on a baseball hat, a cardigan, and I'm sure, we can't see it, but I'm sure he also has on a good shoe.
I might have. This was like, this is probably before I was like sneakering too hard. Yeah. Yep. There it is. That's a box.
Yeah. And so the thing is, right now you are continuing to work a ton.
Yeah.
When we get into box 2 sometime in the future, we'll go through some other big career moments. But just the lead up just the lead up of making the move from Boston, having a job in TV, this is how much you're out.
Yeah.
This is the work that was put in.
I really was in this period, especially before Maris and I got together, and before I got that job, which happened almost at the same time. They were like within a month of each other. I had gotten my first job in TV, my first full-time job in TV, and started dating Maris, who have been married to now for 9 years together for 12. And I was out so much. I mean, I'm still out a lot, but I was out so much then because I just was like so hungry. I like wanted to make it work so badly. And I have this like New England Puritan work ethic of like, well, if I don't try as hard as I can all the time, then I didn't really give it my best shot. And so this is like, especially the first like 80% of those was like that era of like, I've got to be out. I've got to be hanging out. I've got to be watching the best comics at Whiplash where I know I can get in because like at the time, like I couldn't lurk at the cellar or something in the same way. And Whiplash was like the best quality of comedy I had access to. Same with Union Hall and Bell House. And I've got to be out supporting the shows because that's like the right way to be a part of the scene and the best way to like make sure that I'm doing right by myself as well. And doing all the social events and like making really, I was like, I just need to make sure that I've given this an honest effort because otherwise, like, what am I doing here? And so like there's like stuff, pictures that I remember, like photographs of yours that I remember, events that I don't even remember having been at that I'm like, oh, of course. And then it's like, I mean, I'm sure people will talk about this all the time, but like I'm a working comedian and writer, and I feel very fortunate to have the career that I have. And there are still like dreams that I have left to fulfill, which is exciting and a good way to feel, I think. But like, it is so wild to be like, oh, there's all these pictures with Janelle. Like that's when she started being really a part of the scene, showing up, living in New York. And now it's like the stratosphere that she's in, or Michelle and Parna, even like Michael Che. It's like really spectacular to be like, oh, right. We were all just like hanging out. It's very fun. And like everybody comes from the same place in that way. Like everybody had to like show up and put in the work and do the shows and like be a part of the scene. And yeah, it's like really, this is really special to have gotten to be a part of. So thank you so much for not only for having me here today, but for your like curation and stewardship over this chronology for so many people for so many years.
Thank you, Josh.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mindy.
I'm taking pictures of you. I'm taking pictures of everything.
Josh has a great newsletter. It's called That's Marvelous. Please do go check it out. I want to say it's every Monday.
Every Monday. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's marvelousnewsletter.com. You can find it there. I've got a special called Positive Reinforcement on YouTube that you did the key art for.
And it produced by Blonde Medicine.
Blonde Medicine, yeah. Producers of the show.
Yeah, so you can just tap the Blonde Medicine thing and go find it. But yeah, you should definitely subscribe to his newsletter. He sends out at the tail end of the newsletter, you can see where you can see him and where he's going to be touring. And it's a great way to stay in touch with your favorite comedians. Look out and see if they have an email list. It's a better thing to do than following them on the platforms where if they're touring in your city.
3 weeks after.
Yeah. Yeah. And guys, you can sign up for our newsletter as well. We like to send out a mailer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm taking pictures of you. I'm taking pictures of everything. A woman likes to roam.